All right, here's our video. Trigonometry, Algebra 2, we're talking about the law of cosines today. Other video, we talked about the law of sines, and you can check out other videos we have on trigonometry. So let me get a clean page and let's start right away. So again, with the law of cosines, same with the law of sines, you can find the sides of triangles, right? And with the law of cosines, we can find the side lengths of any type of triangle, whether it's a right triangle or an oblique triangle. So let me just give you the formula, and it may look a little. First of all, we should have our pen ready, right? Have the red going there. There we go. So this may look a little intimidating, but it's not. We'll break it down. So it's c squared equals a squared plus b squared. By the way, you can right there you can see it's almost a Pythagorean theorem right there. Minus 2ab. Again, like I said, don't worry about this formula. We'll straighten it out for you. Cosine c. All right. So this looks a little intimidating, but we'll break it down. So let's just we'll take a triangle here. Let me switch pens. Or actually, let me just keep the red. So I'll create a triangle here. Let's just create anyone, some oblique triangle. Right there. And let's say this is angle A, and that's angle B, and up here's angle C. So we have the capital letters, again, are the angles. Those are the angles. And the smaller case letters would be the side length. So again, they're always opposite each other. So that would be B over there, and that would be A over here, and of course that would be C. So let's just fill this in. Let's say that B was, we'll change the color for this. We'll play B is 11. Let's say A is, make it 8. So here we have two sides. We have two sides and an angle. Well, we don't have an angle yet. But let's say that the angle, let's say the angle is 37 degrees. So 37 degrees is in there. So now we have side, angle, side. That's the type of triangle. It is two sides and an angle. So let's try to solve this. So we're going to say c squared and just fill it in. We have a, right? A is 8. So it's going to be 8 squared plus, now we need b squared. B's right there. 11 squared. Just fill it in. Minus 2 times a, which is 8, times b, which is 11. And then you already have cosine. C, cosine C is 37 degrees. So we have everything we need there to solve this problem with your calculator. Just take your calculator, right? We do it one at a time. So here we're going to have 64 plus 121, right? 8 squared is 64, 11 squared is 121. And the rest, it's just all calculator right here, right? And if we do this here, we'll have 176. So we're going to have 185 minus 176. Don't forget, you're multiplying cosine 37 degrees. Just put in cosine 37 degrees in your calculator, and you'll get 0.79863, something like that. Let your calculator be your friend, and you can use the calculator, remember, on the regions. So remember order of operations. Very important to remember the order of operations. Very important. Whether you call it GEMDIS or PEMDIS. And if you did all this, we're going to say that c squared equals 44.44. But we're not looking for c squared, right? We're actually looking for c. And so we just take the square root of that. And we'll find c. It's about, we'll use the about 6.67. So there's c. That's how we did that. So let's do a few others. Rewind if you need to. I'll clear this out. There we go. All right. And why don't we use red again? So what if I have this other triangle? Make this triangle over here like that. There we go. And let's say that was C, that was A, that was B. Doesn't matter where you put the letters. We know that the capital letter is the angle, and so the opposite of that should be where you put this lowercase, right? So that should be A, that should be B, and that should be C. And let's say that we fill this in. We'll change the color. We'll use purple. Let's say C is 15. And let's say B is 4. And let's say that the degree is 112 degrees. So in this case, now we don't want C squared anymore. It doesn't matter what you use. Now we can use A squared. It's the same process. Before we said C squared, remember? Now we can say A squared equals C squared because we're trying to find A. That's what we're trying to find. That's why we put A squared there. If we were trying to find B, we would say B squared. So we're saying A squared equals C squared plus B squared minus 2CB, and we'll fill this in, cosine 112, right? So let's fill it in. A squared equals, we have 15 squared plus 4 squared, B is 4, minus 2 times 15 times 4 times, remember that's times, cosine 112. So just put that in your calculator. What do you get? So if you get that answer, you're going to find that A squared is 285.95. But remember, we were trying to find A, so we square root it, and we'll get around 16.91. So we used A squared instead of C squared for that one. All right, let's do another one. Now, let's do one where we don't have any angles. It's a little difficult, right? So let's clear that out. Let's make a triangle again. Why don't we keep purple? Why not? Make a little triangle here. And let's say we had this was, I don't know, maybe that was 9, that was 11, that was 18. Just throw in some numbers here. We have that's A, we have that's B, angle C, but we just don't know what they are. So this is just side, side, side. That's what the type of triangle it is, no angles. So what we can do is here is, again, we can put in the lowercase if we want to, right? So this would be C because it's opposite to C. This would be A, and that would be B. So we can just use the formula we started with. Remember we said C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times cosine C. So in this case, we're going to manipulate. We're going to manipulate the formula. So we have to do some algebra over here. So what we can do is this whole thing right here, we're going to flip to the other side. It's like saying this. Let's give you an example up here. Use different color here. If we had 2x minus 5 equals, q, whatever it is, we can minus 2x minus 5 on both sides. Well, here we have a minus sign, so we're adding it on both sides. Just showing you a little example there. So if we do that now, we're going to have 2ab cosine c, right? And then we're going to have it plus c squared equals a squared plus b squared. We just took this whole thing and put it on the other side. Then we're going to minus the c squared out, bring it to the other side. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. This could get a little messy, so I'll change the color. Then we're going to be left with a squared plus b squared minus c squared. And on this side, we're going to have 2ab cosine c. Then, if we divide the 2ab on both sides, this is what we're trying to get. So I'll change the color again, and we'll take this whole thing and we'll put it right over here in this little box. So now I'm going to have cosine c equals a squared plus b squared minus c squared over 2ab. So rewind the tape if you don't know how I did that. Now just plug in what you have. Let's go to red now. Plug it in. Cosine c is going to equal a squared, right? Whatever a squared is. What's a squared? 9 squared plus b squared is 11 squared minus c squared is 18 squared all over 2 times 9 times b, which is 11. Put that in your calculator. See what you get. All right. So we ran out of room. But if you did this, you should have got a negative decimal, like negative 0.616161616, so forth and so on. And then what you have to do is you have to do these buttons here. So your answer, when you did this and you divided it by that, should have got a negative 0.616. Let's just say that. I add a few more. So what you're going to do is keep that in your calculator. You're going to go second, press the second button on the calculator, second cosine, second answer. That's what the answer button looks like on the bottom. Second cosine, second answer, and you should get 128, roughly, 0.03, let's say. 128.03. And that's the degree of C. That'll be the degree of C. Of cosine C, that is. So we know that this, we'll just say roughly 128 degrees in there. So that's how we got the degree. You had to do this manipulation. So you should rewind the tape and see how I got that. Now, if you don't understand the way the buttons are, here's the buttons. You're going to press the second button here, the second. You don't get a triangle. Let's bring that back. All right. So I guess triangles one that appear on the screen. So there's the second button right there. And then you want to put second cosine, again, second cosine, and then press second again, and there's the answer button. You get your angle. Shall we do one more? Okay, let's say now, and where's my pen? Lost my pen. Okay, and let's say now we're trying to find what C is. Trying to find what C is. Well, let's use purple. So we'll put a little question mark there. And let's say that B, we'll say B is, well, let's say B is 14. And we'll say A is 8. And we'll say C is 19. So we have our sides. Again, this is side, 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 trying to find the angle. So why don't you try this? See what you get. Pause the tape. So again, let's remember we have C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB times cosine C. And we're going to manipulate it like we did last time because we want the cosine C all by itself. So we'll just add this out. After a while, you'll know exactly how to do this. And again, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. Change the color, why not? So we're going to have 2AB cosine C plus C squared is going to equal A squared plus B squared. And then we'll minus the C squared. And then we'll get 2AB cosine C equals A squared plus B squared minus C squared. What do you think the last thing is? That's it. Let's divide this out. So we get the cosine C by itself, and this is what we'll get. So we're going to have cosine C equals A squared plus B squared minus C squared over 2AB. And just plug in A, B, and C. Just plug it in. So what'd you get when you plugged it in? If you plugged all this in, remember, A is 8, B is 14, C is 19. So if you plug that in, use your calculator as your friend, you would get negative 101 over 224. And when you get that answer, remember the buttons I showed you. You're going to get this answer. You're going to get a negative 0.4508, something like that. What do you do next? right? And there's more to this number, but you're going to press the second button. Second. Then the cosine button. Remember, it's a law of cosines. Then the second button again. And then you press your answer. And you'll get what the degree of C is. Right? It's 116.8. It's about 117 degrees. So that's the law of cosines.